Hello and welcome to Ask a Lender Part 3. I'm very happy to be back in the studio. And actually we have this beautiful new studio courtesy of John L. Scott's South Hill office. I have a very special guest today. This is Steven Di Lucca with Priority Home Lending. Steven is the in-house lender for John L. Scott's offices in Spokane, the Spokane area. So we're very happy to have him here today. And as I said, this is the third installation of Ask a Lender. Lending is probably one of the most critical parts of the home buying process. So I thought it was really important to bring Steven in and get an update on where things are in the marketplace and how things have changed and how that impacts buyers. So welcome. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Steve. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So how did you get into lending?
So funny story. I was actually a real estate agent in Idaho.
Nice.
So after I graduated from Gonzaga, I went back down to my hometown to start in real estate, and that was right in 2007. So wasn't the best with a young family to get started in real estate with no experience. So did commercial for a little bit. So after a year, I went on to monster.com and I applied for the only job that required a 4-year degree. I just thought I should put this degree to use, and one job showed up. It was with Wells Fargo Financial.
Really?
I applied, took the job, and that I got in immediately with consumer lending, auto loans, credit cards, and small personal lines of credit, and then eventually wound up into home mortgage. And when that division of Wells Fargo shut down, the rest is history. I moved to Chase. So I've seen a lot of different sides of the business. I've been with a big bank. I've been completely independent as a mortgage broker, so dealing directly with wholesalers, and now a direct lender, and will be going into my 11th year.
Wow.
In lending.
Excellent. So with your experience, what would you say, what are the things a prospective buyer should know before they jump into the process?
I think it's important for all buyers to know that when they start the lending process, that not everything has to be completely sorted out and perfect and completely lined up right away. I get people that ask, well, I'm not certain I want to buy now. I'm not certain I want to start the pre-approval. I've heard things about pulling credit. I don't want a hard pull on my credit. And I tell all of my clients, whether you're buying now or 10 years from now or 2 years, somewhere in between, it's important to speak with a lender, because we're going to uncover things that may influence that decision and may influence whether now is actually a good time or waiting a year or, whatever other situation may arise. It's important to not allow things that they may have heard from their cousin, whoever it is, that stop them. I think there's fear sometimes that goes into going into lending. I got to talk to a bank. I got to talk to a mortgage guy.
Yeah.
And that can bring fear up for whatever reason, whether it's things that have happened in the past with credit or life circumstances. And I try to encourage all my clients that we're here to build a plan for the most important purchase that you're probably ever going to make in your life.
Yep. Absolutely. And the thing too is that what I find a lot of times, and it's funny, I came up with this analogy yesterday with a client of mine, and I said, I'm a realtor, I'm not a landscaper. So I'm not going to tell you with this house you're buying what you should do or how you fix that. Go talk to the landscaper. They're the professional in that. But at the same time, don't talk to your landscaper when you want to learn about real estate or lending. And I just find in doing this business is that too many people get advice from people who aren't in the business. And that can be very difficult because you can get some very bad information. So obviously talking to a lender, regardless if you're ready to jump in right now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, talk to that person, understand what should I be getting ready for? And obviously you can counsel them into, hey, if you've got all this debt, pay these things off because it's only going to help your portfolio when you get there and how much you could borrow in your ratings. So, definitely. Now, are there 3 things that people should kind of plan on and kind of get their ducks in a row with beforehand?
Yeah, well, this actually goes into, there's a couple C's of credit that go into what we all look at for qualifying, but it's really important for us, from the practical aspect, to understand income, credit, and assets. So those three things we're going to look into. We're going to analyze the history. How long have you been on your job? Who are you? What type of work are you into? One thing that I find, and this is like, just because I watched a YouTube video on how to fix my faucet doesn't make me a plumber. So
Exactly.
Again, I speak to a real estate expert about what to look for when we're searching for homes. Tell me about these different things. And so same thing on the lending side. And I'm going to keep going back to this because this has just been something I've been running into a lot of, is that people have a lot of reasons on why they think they're not ready to speak to a lender, why they're not ready to speak and talk about their financing. And they, a call today, a gentleman moving over from Pennsylvania, and just assumed that rules over here, there's some state laws in Pennsylvania that keep him from pre-qualifying over there. And so they're thinking of moving, and he said a couple things, and I kind of unpacked it for him. I'm like, that's not the case over here. So again, that kind of goes back to just keeping an open mind about what we have as the expert to provide. I'm going to provide options. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing in lending.
Yeah, and it's good, like you said, to unpack things, for the buyer to unpack the situation, because I had a situation where we had somebody relocating here for a job, and they were worried that, my employment won't be consistent because I just quit my job to move there. But because they had an offer letter, it's understandable, that's explainable, versus I just decided to quit my job 2 months ago and I'm not, So obviously, some people think that that's an issue, but we can help them understand those things. So let me ask you this, with the historically low rates in the market right now, how has that changed things?
Well, first, from where we're at right now in Spokane, Washington, we're seeing record appreciation. I mean, we finished at 10-12% again this year.
It's crazy.
Projected to...
Which is great. For those people who live here and own, it's good. But also for the people coming here and buying, don't get worried about that appreciation, because it's going to continue. So whatever you buy now, 2, 3, 4 years from now, you might be looking 30% appreciation. So,
and the other point behind that is that where we are at right now, coming off of historically low rates, the low for all time was August 4th of this year, and we are not far off those levels currently. And what that's done is it's taken the sting off of the appreciation a little bit. So if you were looking at, purchasing a house for, let's say you're a first-time home buyer looking at $250,000 this time last year, and rates were 1% higher, that same $250,000 house now costs you $265,000, $270,000. And so even though there's been a $20,000 price increase because of appreciation, that 1% decrease in interest rates has taken almost all the sting off of what would have raised that monthly payment. So it's I think it's still allowing affordability. As we've seen the price of homes in Spokane outperform the median income, it is still allowing people to get in with a relatively affordable monthly payment. And it's also allowed people on the other side, at Priority Home Lending, our primary focus is purchase mortgages. We excel at all purchase transactions, but nothing is more rewarding than being able to reach out to somebody that we've helped to refinance and lower the rate. So low rates have also allowed people to use their home, whether it's to pay off student loans, to do home improvements. So one thing that we're seeing a lot of right now, when you combine, the low rates with people's equity, it just allows people to do a lot with their homes.
Right.
So
yeah, and it's interesting. There's obviously a lot of people moving into Spokane. I mean, that is not a secret by any means. More than half of the transactions that I do personally are from people who aren't from here, maybe Seattle, California. I've got a family I'm meeting with tomorrow from Laredo, Texas, that we're spending 4 days together looking at property up here. So, and East Coast too, we've had too. So there are people coming from everywhere, which is good for them because, our costs, our median prices are a lot less than a lot of other places. So for them, it's very affordable, even if it's escalating or appreciating, I should say, at 10 to 12% per year. But for the local person too, it's still a good investment for them to get in and buy and start building equity and, enjoy that appreciation for a few years and be there for 3 or 4 years, use it as your residence, but also as an investment. And then when you outgrow the house, you're ready for an upgrade in 3, 4, 5 years, turn around, you've got a nice nest egg of equity you built up. So I mean, definitely people can win from that respect as well.
How many times a week do you think you get the question, is this bubble going to burst?
Oh, daily. And it's funny, I laugh when people ask me because I'm not from here and I've lived here since 2002, but I've always lived in big cities, Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles. And I watched the other markets like a Seattle that got really big and it's softening up a little bit, but it doesn't compare to Spokane that is so far behind the curve from a cost of living standpoint that with the crazy great quality of life we have here and that lower cost of living, it's like the perfect storm where it's just going to continue. And, we go back and we talk about Amazon all the time coming here. And there are other people who are coming here and businesses opening up and people relocating who can work remotely and choose to live in Spokane. So, I mean, it's going to continue.
So as far as the environment of just, whether or not because of people now experiencing forbearance with COVID or even just mortgage performance at large, I think one major thing to remember is people's equity right now. The equity in 2008, I don't know the exact statistic, but it was not 30%. Because I'm not even going to unpack what happened in 2008.
It's a totally different world.
But from an equity standpoint, I encourage all people, families that are looking at a home, the right time to buy is the right time for your family.
Right.
But if you're waiting for this bubble or foreclosures, I think you're going to be disappointed.
You're going to be waiting for something that may not happen.
And will there be a correction? Sure, at some point, because that's the natural cycle of a market.
Right.
But because of what you just mentioned, how Spokane, we haven't seen these violent swings like that we see in some bigger major metro areas.
Yeah.
And so,
one of the things too that I think could change that, which again I don't think will happen because I don't think it's physically possible, but if Spokane would start letting builders build anywhere they want and expand wherever they want, and if there were enough builders to start building hundreds, if not thousands of houses every 6 months, where all of a sudden we had all this inventory, maybe that would affect it, but that's not the case. We have limited inventory right now. Very few houses going to the market in most cases, as you know, because we just we just signed around on one where it was multiple offers and we beat some other people out. And even last night where I was listing agent on another and you came with another realtor and, there were 5 offers on that one. So, that's the state of the market. And because houses don't get built that fast and there aren't that many even crews out there to build houses, even if there was the ability just to, go out and build wherever you wanted, whenever you wanted. It's just, it's not reality to think that there's any thing on the horizon that's just going to pop up and just burst a bubble. All the statistics are out.
Logical. I mean, we're number 3 on Redfin for most competitive market. I mean, we're always in the top 5 or 10 when you look at these, where are people moving, whether it's, Redfin, or even if you look at stats from like United Van Lines they track where are people with their moving trucks moving into.
Yeah, it's funny because people ask me that, especially when I travel. My family's back in Chicago, so I go back there and see them. But if I'm other places and people ask me about real estate in Spokane, and they make an assumption because of something that's going on in another part of the country, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry that's happening here. We're lucky enough to be in one of the hottest markets in the country that it's nonstop, and I don't see it stopping for any time soon. So let me ask you this: what is the most unusual situation you've come across as a lender?
Oh man,
you don't have to name names. So
no. So this year has brought its own challenges because of COVID and some of the guideline changes, mostly around employment stability. We didn't really change much other than we added some layers for employment stability and in the wave of people being laid off, and but even with some of the miracles that have happened this year, one client I will never forget, and so this goes back. This was 6 years ago, and so this one will always win as far as just one of the craziest circumstances. So there was a little bit of a language barrier to start with, and I had done a loan for another family member, and so luckily, and we can talk a little bit about customer service here in a minute. That's my favorite part of our job.
Good.
But so I became that family's lender, which was awesome. And so I had some people help interpret as we go, and so the client comes to me. We're about a week from closing, and he's really excited because he's like, I got a new job, and it's better for my family. I'm going to make more money. Isn't this better for the loan? And unfortunately, it was not better for the loan because it was as an hourly income earner. Anyways, I will go to the gory details. We had to extend the closing so that we could collect 30 days of pay stubs. Well, we extended closing, and the credit score went from 720 to no credit because he hadn't had credit activity for 6 months. So we had this excellent credit score, and then it disappeared because of the extension. We had to re-pull credit. So we had to change loan types. We had to change investors. We had to go to a completely different company, and we had to rework the entire scenario. Luckily, I had a program for no credit score because you can actually buy a house with no credit score.
Wow.
And so I was able to flip it to a program with no credit, do this non-traditional credit report, and what was going to be a regular 4-week close ended up taking almost 3 months.
Wow.
So I will never forget that. It was incredible to be able to walk with him and his family that whole time.
Right.
But yeah.
Well,
and I learned a lot.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like I learned a lot. I didn't even know I could do the non-traditional credit at the time, which non-traditional credit is simply in lieu of a credit score. We verify things like utility payments, insurance payments, cell phone bills, and we actually build a credit report with those, instead of having credit cards, student loans, and all those other things.
Interesting.
So
yeah,
I'll never forget.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, in one of the previous ones, I believe it was Ask a Lender 2. We heard the story of somebody who quit their job, went on vacation, quit their job right before closing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, but that's again that was a valuable lesson to learn. But again, this is as well because there's all those things that go into it, and as as safe as it seems to take a job that's better for the family, when you're going through the process, you really want to ask.
And he was excited to tell me too.
Yeah, and definitely ask your lender about those things because maybe you want to accept that job, but your start date is set for after closing, so it's not going to create an issue. So you had brought up customer service, and that is something that's very important to me in my business. Coming from the hotel industry, I spent 18 years in the hotel industry, which is all customer service, even in sales and marketing. And I brought that over to what I do in real estate. And I find it very important because a lot of what you and I do and other people that work in this industry is customer service centric. And there are a lot of us out there, not you and me, but a lot of lenders and a lot of realtors who don't get that. So tell me about that, about customer service and why that's so important to what you do.
I have found that one of the best things I can do for my clients, not only the service that I give them, but it's the education. And my clients don't do this for a living, and I want to educate them so that they know not only that they have options, they can do things like pick their own interest rate and figure out what and this in a market like this, in the lending side, I say this too because a lot of lenders have the ability to are doing a lot of refinances right now. And so it's really easy to just kind of get in that mode. There's nothing more exciting than calling a past client and saying, would you like to save $300 a month? Yeah. I mean, it's one of the most rewarding. But so
it's awfully nice gift. Right?
It's a wonderful gift
that you can deliver, right?
But one thing that I've found over my career is that I have come. At one point I joked that I was the cleanup guy because I would be second or third opinion, and I would find out that after meeting with 2 or 3 lenders, there's still no idea. I have no idea what my closing costs are. We talked about this general figure. I had no idea if it was a conventional FHA or VA, and I don't expect my clients to be experts by any means, but I sure hope you could walk away from a meeting and tell your real estate agent, I mean, I'm going to tell them, but I would hope that you could at least, talk to your real estate agent about what it is, because I feel like when we put, and I've got to get out of my lender world of all this lender jargon. This is what I do. This all makes sense. And I've got to be able to communicate in a way that my clients will understand, and that also a decision like buying a home isn't just a one-time transaction. And how we set up even the mortgage, one of the first things I do I call it my intake call. One of the first things is I find out within the first 10 minutes, kind of what do you think this home is going to be for your family? Do you see this as, are you an investor? Are you looking, is this your first home? Do you want to use this to springboard into your next house? Right. Do you want to turn this into an investment? Do you have any relocation plans in the future? There are so many things that go into, I could have someone walk in and I could give them what they wanted. I could give them a mortgage and they could go out and they could go along their way and get into the house. But I'm not in the business of just giving my clients a mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, the education is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like you said, you could just present them what they're asking for, but anybody can do that. Mostly anybody can do that. There are people that can't do that. They'll tell you they can, but that's a whole other story. That's probably another Ask a whatever series. But yeah, I mean, that's really important, because one of the things that I do when I bring somebody in a home, and they may think it's their forever home, and I will point out to them that, the school district that they're in and the value that has because of the demand or the location or things like that, especially if they're not from Spokane, because they may not be thinking about it the second they walk in that house and they start looking around, but it is something important to them because chances are they're not going to be, that's not their forever home. So, you help people out too, because you're like, okay, well, I wasn't really thinking about that, but that makes sense. And it helps them actually make a decision. If they're looking at 3 or 4 homes and 2 or 3 of those have a lot of upside and are going to appreciate, and the last one, it's at the highest it might be, and maybe that neighborhood is changing, or there's a factory being built down the street, it might impact them. So again, I do the same thing.
I mean, you don't go write the offer right on the hood of the car.
No. If I ever reach that level, just pull my license, state of Washington, please. I don't need to be that. But I mean, customer service is so important because, I always tell people 95% of my job is providing information. It's pro bono work. I don't get paid for it. I'm here to help educate people. I am here to be an information source. And through that giving and helping and teaching and helping somebody improve themselves, my only hope is that when it's ready, when they're ready to buy or sell, that they'll give me a call me. It happens all the time. So I don't mind that at all. So, okay, go ahead.
Well, and I wanted to touch base on something that I think just culturally right now that's happening is I think I'm seeing that it's so easy for somebody to have anxiety or fear over an unknown. And I think that's just been something, especially this year with COVID. And so the last thing I want is somebody to leave my office and have anxiety or fear around what type of financing. Because if, and Steve and I have a business partnership, right? And last thing I want to do is send someone shopping with anxiety about what their mortgage options are.
Right. Because
then with someone like yourself that's an incredible listener, it's going to be hard for you to listen when they're, I don't know about this financing. Yeah. Steven said that and so I just think that right now it's more important than ever to be super thorough about what it is, and sometimes being thorough may mean digging a little further. It may mean, hey, if you were to actually do this, you could potentially, get into a better mortgage.
Right.
If we waited, or maybe you can use some of this money that was going to be toward, buying the rate down. We can use it to free up a credit card. We do these things called rapid rescores. It's like, we can take your credit report. It says X. Well, I can change it to X because you changed the balance, and guess what? Your scores change. It's magic.
Yep. Magic's good.
So I just think it's really important right now. I'm seeing fear in people's lives, and the last thing I want is them to be uncertain or anxious about what their financing looks like. Right. And it's just, and for them to be, I want all my clients to feel confident that when they're out there with you or whichever real estate partner, they know what their options are, so that they can make the best decision for their family when they're walking through that home.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because they're not thinking about what's going to happen with my financing.
Yeah, and
I don't know what these closing costs are because I didn't actually see every fee in detail.
Right, so, and that's important because a lot of people don't know that. So it's very good to ask that question and understand what your fees are. But I always tell people too, is that because buying or selling is very stressful. That's our business though. So, part of what I deliver for my clients is I reduce that stress and I take that stress on for them, because I know that if a buyer or seller hears something that they don't fully understand, they may just lose it and they may just completely bail when it's something that you and I can deal with that really it's not that big of a deal, it can be overcome. So we'll take that stress on for them. Awesome. So I've got a bonus question for you. I didn't share these with you because I never do. So this is just totally off the cuff. So if you were an animal, what animal would be best suited to be a mortgage lender?
Gosh, I'm really biased because I love bald eagles.
Okay.
I also love this country. So I've got that bias, but
okay.
I think here's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
So I like the bald eagle in this business because as a king of the sky, they've got an ability to really see the bigger picture and to see, but they're also a predator. So when they actually need to go in and fight those guidelines, get in there and make sure that everything's uncovered, they're going to go do that for survival. And so I like the ability to, take that step back. And this kind of goes in with the, our job is to be the expert as a real estate professional and a lender. I don't want my clients to have to worry about those. Like on my side, they need to know about the financing. I'm the one that's got to dig through the guidelines. That's my job.
Exactly.
I'll educate you with what you need to know so that you can make the best decision. So it's important for me to stay in that zone of, having that bigger picture in mind for my clients, but also really willing to go in there and be an advocate for, hey, you know what? Let me show you what I think about these hours.
Right.
You know, I think they've got a great story. Guess what? You know why their hours are 3 hours off this week and they had 77 instead of 80? She got a flat tire. Okay, so let me tell you why so I got to really be able to go in and to continue to just, and I like the bald eagle because I'm also very competitive for my clients when it comes to helping them win their offers.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's trying to do something crazy like close a loan in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Or tell the listing agents that I've got the best pre-approval in town.
Yeah.
That's where I like the ball.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's like that, and that's when, as we've talked about this, I mean, when I approach a transaction from a buyer standpoint, we approach it as the three-headed team, really.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our client in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best client for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller.
Mm-hmm.
This is Steven, he's your best lender, why? And I'm Steve, your realtor, who is going to treat everybody involved like a client because I want everything to go smoothly and get to the closing table. So, I mean, it is very important, but it's good insight. I like that. So that's a wrap for Ask a Lender Part 3. I want to thank Steven Di Lucca with Priority Home Lending. I will have Steven's information at the end of the video so you can reach out to him. But if it goes by too quickly or you don't have time to watch it, just reach out to me and I'll connect you with him as well. So thank you for watching another Silbar Homes production of Ask a Lender. Truly appreciate it. If you have any questions about real estate, about lending or anything tied to that, please reach out to me anytime. You can hit me up on my Facebook site. You can reach out to me via silbarhomes.com, which is my website, or just Google me. You'll probably find me out there somewhere. So thank you very much for joining us, and COVID.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, thanks.
See you guys.
Take care.